The fifth state in the Union, but the first state in our hearts. The state of Connecticut has a long and storied history of success on and off the athletic fields, and 22 Threads is your go to apparel brand for all things CT. Visit the 22 Threads website at www.22threads.com to shop their stores and blue collar football apparel collections now. 10% of each item sold is donated to a local Connecticut nonprofit organization. Look good, do good, because you love CT. Hey, UConn football back for another game this Saturday against Duke. So join us to preview and look back at last week is Jackson Mitchell. So Jackson, welcome back.
Appreciate you having me back. Yeah.
So when we look back at last week's game against FIU, it really was a tale of two halves there, especially from a defensive standpoint. What changed in particular, from a defensive and that you guys are able to have so much more success in that second half, really shutting down FIU?
Yeah, I think we just kind of got back to who we are and like just being more aggressive and physically and kind of imposing and our will and playing how we want to play on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive line had a great second half. They really got after them. Lonnie had a great half, Price had a great half. And we kind of just got back to who we are as a defense and we kind of said after the game that's what we need to be for 4 quarters, especially with how the team's going this year. Like the defense needs to step up and kind of play that way for 4 quarters.
Given that first half was tougher for both sides, offensive and defensively, what was the halftime message like from Coach Moore in the locker room that game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was too pleased. I think we had a lot of expectations going into the game and kind of we're for certain that this was kind of going to be our first win. And when we came out slow again, just like we did Georgia State, it was kind of frustrating because he kind of didn't understand it. We all didn't understand what was going on and why we came out that way in the first half, knowing that we haven't won a game yet, and it was kind of urgent that we needed to win a game, and then we came out like that. So it was definitely disappointing, and he kind of lit a fire under us and told us we got to go. We kind of got to get after it now. And you saw it from the defensive perspective a little bit in the second half.
I think one thing that was interesting when I heard his press conference the other day, he talked about, like, especially from a defensive standpoint, that you guys seem to be like beating yourself up over some plays when things might not have gone your way, and channeling that from kind of like sighing and like dwelling over that to turning that into some like good anger to like then take out on the field and play with some more like fire behind you. Was that what you felt, in that game, that you guys are able to kind of like take a step in terms of like channeling and like kind of beating yourselves up to just like, hey, let's take this out on our opponent and do what we need to do?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Moore did a good job like explaining, everything obviously, as we know, isn't going to go perfect throughout the game. Nobody can play a perfect football game. Like they're Division 1 football players, they're going to make plays too. We kind of got to just understand. I think we had so much expectations for what we would be, would be, and what we want to be as a defense that when it wasn't working, I think we kind of got frustrated and we let it get to us a little too fast. Like yeah, they went down on the first drive and we had a very poor first drive. But after that, you kind of got to just focus back in and get back to your training and help out the team and get stops for the team.
He also talked this week about kind of turning that page and kind of, starting fresh heading into this week. You got a challenge with Duke. What's the feelings like around the team in terms of turning that page and kind of taking things and starting things kind of fresh this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, you have to, especially playing a team like this that's so talented. And obviously they're a top 20 team and got players all over the field offensively and defensively. So you can't really dwell on anything in the past because you got to focus on the team you're about to play. And he kind of just talked about, we've been in this situation before. I've been here 5 years. I've been in, this situation at the beginning of the season. Now this is probably my third year, like at the beginning of the season, struggling. And then
Yeah.
last year, obviously we were able to turn it around and go on that run at the end of the season. And he kind of just told us, that's something that we got to do again. We got to find whatever worked last year and whatever mindset we got into last year for that second half of the season. We kind of got to get into that right now too.
He seemed to be very adamant, and that's Coach Mora, that, he wasn't going to let this program fall back to, where it had been previously, where, the team was really struggling. And kind of last year kind of seemed like, hey, this was the minimum expectation he was hoping to get, and he's talking about getting things back in that direction. Do you guys all feel, within the locker room there that this team still is capable of kind of turning things around and getting back, maybe not towards, some of the highest of expectations that people had maybe had in the preseason, but getting back to a way where this is a winning competitive football team?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got a lot. I said this to the team earlier in the week, like player for player, this is kind of the best team I've been able to be a part of so far in college, and we're not playing like it right now. And I think we still have the expectation for ourselves that we can get to that level. And we just kind of got to put the pieces together and focus on one play at a time and one moment at a time. Don't look too far ahead and just focus on what we got right in front of us.
So let's look ahead to Duke. We're turning that page now. As you go up against this team, I mean, as you mentioned, playmakers both sides of the ball. From a defensive perspective, what are you kind of keying in on this week heading into this matchup?
Yeah, I mean they're a top running team in the country. I think in FBS they're a top 10 running team. Obviously the quarterback's really talented. He can make a lot of throws. He's a big time quarterback, and then obviously you see what he does with the run. I think he's had close to 100 yards in 2 games so far this year. And that's obviously something that we've struggled with. So it's something that we're putting a big focus on to try to keep him in the pocket and keep him from using his legs and make him beat us throwing. But as far as the team, the offensive line is also really talented. I think this is a really good offense, a good challenge for us. And obviously we like challenges, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to play a really good ball game to compete with them and to win the game for sure.
I'm going to take a quick break from the interview to tell you about my friends at Martin Rosol's Meats. This fourth generation Connecticut family business produces kielbasa, hot dogs, sausages, and deli meats using Martin Rosol's very own original recipes. Their products can be found in grocery stores, delis, restaurants, and hot dog stands throughout the state. And if you're looking for your fill right away, check out their retail store in New Britain. For more information, visit martinroselsinc.com and go support a UConn fan owned business. And now, back to the interview. Going into, last game, and kind of blew my mind when Coach Morris said in his press conference, I think he said it was Taquan's like first complete game he's played since like probably going back to high school. How do you see him through practice becoming more comfortable, with the offense now that, he is the starter and getting some more of those reps and getting a little bit more playing time under his belt, something that he hasn't necessarily had?
Yeah, I think, for anyone like getting more experience, especially in game, getting through, the speed of like a real game kind of helps you and helps you get more comfortable. So I think, as the season gets on, you'll only see him get more comfortable and understanding obviously what the offense is trying to do over there. But I have the full confidence in him, and the defense has confidence in him and the offense that they're going to get the job done. And, we're going to do what we have to do to help them out.
As you look towards the rest of the season here, from a defensive perspective, give me like a an area or two that you think you guys could, if you improve upon, is going to take this team to the next level.
Yeah, I think getting after the quarterback like on third down, our pressures last year, it's in the second half of the season, we are really good at getting sacks and getting after the quarterback, pressuring him with our blitz packages and even when we're doing a 4-man, 3-man rush, getting after them. And I think that's something that we really got to improve on and we're going to improve on because we know how much it helps, especially the defensive backs. When there's pressure on a good quarterback, it's hard for him to make throws as well. And the second thing I think would just be tackling. I think it's gotten better since the first game, but it's still not where it needs to be. And something that we've kind of stressed that, everyone's got to run to the ball and kind of finish at the ball carrier and make the tackle, and everyone got to swarm to the ball.
I want to talk about a guy on the defense who flipped and did a little bit offensively last week for you in Jelani. What's it like seeing him get some carries there and get into the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, since he got here, we've been talking about that he should be doing that because obviously he used to do it in high school and at Youngstown State, I think he had a few plays where he carried the ball. So we've been talking about it for a while, and then they finally put it in. Obviously, at before the season, and you saw in the NC State game, he did was kind of do that push on the QB sneak, but we've been waiting on it to see it, and he said when he was going to score, he was just going to hand the ball to the ref and kind of run out the field, and that's what he did. But I'm excited to see more of it. Obviously, he's a really strong, powerful guy, and so anytime we it's 1 or 2 yards, I'd give him the ball for sure.
I know during basketball season when I did these podcasts with Alex and things were going a little rough for the basketball team, things, do get noisy out there. And, we talked a little bit about tuning out some of that noise and how you deal with it. Is that something you have, had to deal with in terms of like tuning out some noise, negative comments and things like that that come through when the team is not having its best stretch?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely something we have to deal with. For me, obviously, I've been here a long time, and it's something I've had to deal with for now 5 years. Obviously, the team hasn't done well. My first 3 years, and at the beginning of last year, we struggled as well. So it's definitely something that I have to deal with, but something I've gotten good at, and kind of just tuning it out and focusing on what we got to do here. And I'm telling the team just we got to focus on us. And guys in the locker room are really the only guys that really matter, and that's who we're playing for right now. And when the wins start coming, things will get better for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to look at things. So, as always, got to wrap Giants Thursday night football after an exciting comeback last Sunday. Had you given up on them midway through that game, or did you think that Daniel Jones is leading them back?
No, so at halftime when, it was 20-0, 6 quarters, it was 60-0. Yeah, I turned it off, but then I saw them score one, so I had to turn it back on, and that's when they kind of went on the run a little bit, and it was good to see them win the game, but yeah, it's gonna be a tough one tonight. They play the 49ers with no Saquon, so Daniel Jones gonna have to have a game for sure.
Yeah. Well, Jackson, as always, really appreciate the time. Best of luck against a really tough Duke team. And let me actually throw one more question in now that I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it. Coming into Saturday, looks like it might be rainy, pretty messy out there. How do you feel about going out in a game like that?
I mean, as a defensive guy, I kind of love it. Obviously, I don't have to run with the ball or catch the ball or anything, so it's good for me, and probably can cause some more turnovers, and it's kind of an equalizer. We like to run the ball, and we got to play hard defense, and that's kind of what we like. So I'm excited. I haven't played in like a muddy grass game in a while since probably like high school or middle school, so it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it adds a little different element to it. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But Jackson, as always, really appreciate it and thanks so much.
appreciate it.